Good afternoon, everyone. Senior Minister Tan, Kelvin. It's a pleasure to have a packed room today, much more people even than last year. So today I'll start off by giving a quick introduction to OCLS. I'll call it OCLS, Obayashi Construction Tech Lab Singapore. So we established OCLS technically on the 1st of April this year, but launched publicly just in July here in this room. And it's Obayashi Corporation's first overseas R&D facility. So we do have a venture laboratory in Silicon Valley where we focus on investments and partnerships with startups. But here we chose Singapore as our first overseas R&D facility. And we're part of the Technology Research Institute in Tokyo, which has been around in 1965. The same age as Singapore itself. Obayashi next year will actually be celebrating our 60th year in Singapore. And so yes, we're part of the Built Environment Innovation Hub. We have our office just over here on the 12th floor. And why do we choose that? We believe the BEIH is really becoming the center of the construction industry innovation here in Singapore. And we really wanted to be with like-minded collaborators. And I think today is a classic example of that. Other than my BCA colleagues, I probably had the shortest transit here as well. But it's living proof that we can be here, we can have more conversations, we can meet more companies, and it's really a thriving ecosystem. So in addition to the space, what we decided is we didn't want to kind of build up our own massive team of researchers here. We really wanted this to be a partnership approach. Singapore has some excellent, amazing IHLs, probably more than we could ever partner with. We started off with partnerships with just two, with the Nanyang Technological University and the Singapore Center for 3D Printing, and SUTD, the Department for Robotics and Automation. So we have two programs. We have R&D programs, and then we have deployment programs. So we're looking at what we can do now and what we can do over the coming year or year two, and then how that's really going to transform the industry over the longer term. So talking about our program with Fangxi, these are a few of the Fangxi robots that they have. I don't think you'll see them here today because we're going to be one of the first companies to bring them into Singapore. And we're leveraging off the Productivity Innovation Project, which is a PCA initiative to help accelerate technology adoption. And so for us as a contractor, of course, we have our customers, we have our own priorities. And myself on the innovation side, I love to drive these new technologies. But of course, convincing the people on the ground to adopt these can take some change management and adoption. So the Productivity Innovation Project really help us kind of jump over that barrier and really say, okay, let's give these new robots a try, let's bring them in. And so we're focusing on concrete smithing robots. This is kind of a high-level overview of the project site. It's a data center, so it's an ideal project, a lot of flat space from the 2nd to the 8th story. First story has a lot more columns, so we're starting from the 2nd floor. And this is what you'd see as the traditional method of laying concrete. So leveling, smoothing, troweling. And each of these jobs requires a different specialist. And it's not really something you can train overnight because a certain amount of just feel for the concrete and feel for the machines is required. So you require skilled workers, but unlike what I'll show in a minute, the skilled workers to operate 3 different robots can be trained quite quickly, whereas to train specialists to do this type of work can take even years and years to get them to a good level of quality. Even so, the quality may not be stable, the speed may not be stable, and it's hard to track the progress, right? You're going back to manual tracking. By comparison, by adopting these robots, we do have 3 different robots. What we're hoping we'll see is an increase in quality, or at least stable quality. Speed stability, of course, the robots, common joke, don't take breaks, don't take MC. And although it requires skilled workers, we just need 1 or 2 skilled workers to operate all 3 robots. And of course, because they're robots, because the technology is built in, the tracking is automated as well. So just some videos here showing the robots at work, I'm sure you can imagine. So these are the productivity improvements we're hoping for, 600%, so roughly 20 meters squared per man-hour for each of the manual tasks. And we're aiming based on 120 meters per hour for the robots. And of course, these have been deployed widely in China, so we believe we can achieve these figures. So secondly, talking about our relationship with SUTD, you see here SUTD HD has a center for robotics. A lot of experts there, some of the primary experts in Singapore working with the National Robotics Program. We visited there a few times, we've seen them. At our launch event, the picture in the middle here, they brought a few robots over here to demonstrate. Now what we want to do, although the technology for robots is developing very, very fast, there's only so far you can get with robots. You understand that a work site is a work site. It can be dirty, there can be uneven services, there may not be Wi-Fi, there may not be signaling. And so what we're going to do is take a step back. We're going to look at what you need to do on a work site to make it robot friendly. And that way we can modify potentially the design process, but we can also modify the work set to make sure that we can take advantage of all this technology that's coming in. Secondly, beyond that, in order to automate fully, you need a robotics middleware framework. So you need a way to make all these robots speak to each other, to speak to the elevators, and be able to kind of program them and really take this to scale. So we have a subsidiary called Plybot in Japan, where we already do this in manufacturing and logistics. And longer term, we hope to bring that to the construction industry. And then longer term, we may look at robots as well. There's a lot of talk about reconfigurable robots. This is one of the specialty for SUTD. I think everyone knows about the cost of adopting robots. So the more jobs you can have one robot doing, the more efficient it becomes, and we hope to go in that direction as well. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of our robotics construction kind of philosophy from Japan originally. But of course, we face the same issues as we see here in Singapore. So a shortage of workers. We also have regulation in Japan, not related to the foreign workers, because we have less foreign workers in Japan, but related to the number of hours that people can work on site. And so the drivers are the same. And so we've been developing these technologies really for decades. There's a few that we've brought over to Singapore. And so we're working with HDB on the Garden waterfront in Tengah. A lot of different technologies have been developed or rolled out on this project, but one of them is the autonomous crane. So basically the crane operates with less human intervention. And so you can see here you still need an operator up at the top, and the operator has a kind of kill switch in case there's any emergencies. But the blue lines show the automated parts of the process. And so taking up the units and placing them close to their final position, where then the manual operation will take over and place them down. So this is an example of the interface you can see. So you can see exactly where the unit is being moved to. You can do the automated stopping. The second part of this technology is something called Skyjuster. Now this was developed for Tokyo Skytree, which is the world's tallest tower. Because as you can imagine, a lot of winds up there. It has a gyroscopic effect, which controls the movement of the load and allows you to kind of redirect it and place it on site. And this has been a really, a time-saving technology for us as well. And we're hoping that we can find more use cases for this in Singapore. So that's all from me. If you want to connect, learn more about OCLS or connect with myself, please do. This is just the start. Thank the BCA for all their collaboration so far, and we're looking to building Singapore together.